This DCS update, we talk about the pre-order for the C-130J, which is finally coming to DCS World. Eagle Dynamics lists a comprehensive update to the asset pack coming to the Pacific Theater of Operations. And somewhere in the developmental horizon, ED also hints at Japanese Zero. Perhaps it's coming to DCS World. Want to join thousands of others who are enjoying the PC VR journey and flight simulation? Look no further than the Pimax Crystal Lite. It's an entry-level VR system with some of the best visuals in the business, and right now the Pimax team is offering a limited time trade-in deal on your current headset. They also have limited time free shipping to the US, EU, UK, Australia and Canada. It's never been easier to dive into this amazing experience. Check out the link in the description below for more information so that you can start your own immersive experience in VR with Pimax. Well, hello and welcome back to the DCS SITREP. I'm your host, Prickly Hedgehog. Yes, I've been away for a couple of weeks thanks to some very pressing home improvement projects, and definitely they have taken more time than I expected, and we're not quite done yet, although the heavy lifting has been done. But as I said, we've still got some work to do. Now, speaking of heavy lifting, a couple of weeks ago, a very important announcement, and that was the DCS C-130J from Airplane Simulations is now available for pre-order, currently running $55.99 or so in the DCS eShop. So a great price there for a very, very interesting aircraft that is going to provide some different flight experiences than perhaps we are traditionally used to in aircraft in DCS world. For those of you who have been around in the franchise for long enough, you'll probably remember that Eagle Dynamics had hinted years ago, or indicated years ago, that they were not interested in these kinds of aircraft. They were focused more on the combat portion of flight simulation. But times have changed, and they have definitely softened their stance on this. I think in part because the flight simulation ecosystem has changed, and it has changed very, very rapidly in the last probably 3 to 4 years. And so there is now more scope, a broader player base that is willing to participate in this kind of flight simulation. So the ecosystem has now allowed for this kind of opportunity. So let's talk about what Airplane Simulations has done with this aircraft in terms of getting it ready for pre-order and early access release into the game, along with Eagle Dynamics, because it's an exciting opportunity here. So they say here, get ready to step into the DCS C-130J. This is the latest model of the most versatile military transport aircraft ever built. It is the world's celebrated tactical transporter, renowned for delivering troops, tanks, supplies, and life-saving relief to hostile and war-torn places around the globe. From engine start to wheels up, every switch and system has been painstakingly recreated to let you haul and airdrop exactly as real C-130J crews do. So the Herc is perfect for threading mountain valleys at 250 feet, so it'll be great in Afghanistan and also Iraq, and as well as the South Atlantic as well, which will give the aircraft a little bit more leg room. Now, they go on to say that you'll be able to deploy infantry or even the 22-ton Moab bomb off the back ramp. So that's an exciting addition. They haven't forgotten that the aircraft is capable of delivering some big bada boom as well. So let's look at the key features here. So we have an authentic cargo operations system for the aircraft. So you'll be able to perform realistic cargo loading, management, and aerial delivery procedures. You'll be able to conduct precision airdrops and logistical support missions, showcasing the aircraft's capabilities. Now, talking to some of the Air Warfare Group guys a few years ago, at least one of them made a good point that this kind of flying certainly can be very challenging, provides plenty of pucker factor if you're coming in low and fast to hot airfields or other landing strips where you may get shot at. And indeed, I'm aware of stories from around the world where Hercules aircraft from Western forces, the United States, are coming into areas where there may be competing nations, and some of those competing nations like to fire laser beams and things at these aircraft as they come into land, deliberately setting off the countermeasure systems just to see what happens. So All fun and games, I'm aware. Anyway, they do have the Moab, so yes, you're going to be able to cause a big boom somewhere in the mountain valley or wherever you choose to drop it. There is going to be an interactive voiced checklist system. So this is an interesting one. This is going to be fully voiced, interactive checklist. I can't say that. Interactive checklist guide you through every stage of flight operations that enhance immersion and procedural accuracy. That's really exciting there. Of course, with an aircraft of this type, where you have 4 engines, lots of systems, there is far too much for a solo pilot to go through. Individually, you need, just as you would in civil aviation, somebody to help you out, read off the checklist, making sure everything is turned on appropriately and ready for departure. So it's going to be, as I said, a little bit more procedural. There is going to also be, and this is a first for DCS, a first-person Loadmaster experience. So you'll be able to explore the aircraft in a novel first-person mode that allows you to walk freely inside the cargo bay and around the exterior, whilst you're also interacting with the aircraft systems and cargo. Again, a first for DCS World, which is really cool. There's a fully interactive cockpit, which was kind of hinted at before. This detailed cockpit is fully interactive and features modern digital avionics, a HUD, and accurate instrumentation. Each switch and gauge operates exactly as it would in the real aircraft. So it's going to be challenging, therefore, to get to grips with all of this. We have, as is expected of most DCS modules these days, a realistic flight dynamic. So the aircraft is modeled to closely replicate real-world performance. So you'll be able to conduct those low-level tactical missions, precision cargo drops, and strategic airlift operations with realistic handling. So good news there for anyone looking forward to that kind of flying and detailed system simulation. So we've got the essential C-130J systems, including the AE2100D3 turboprop engines, advanced avionics, cargo management, and defensive countermeasures are accurately simulated with realistic damage modeling. Multi-crew, multiplayer. So collaborate with fellow crew in real-time multiplayer sessions, share cockpit responsibilities, navigation tasks, and systems management seamlessly as a team. Dynamic missions, fly diverse mission profiles such as tactical deployments, covert special operations, or humanitarian aid flights, all of which highlight the operational versatility of the Super Hercules. Outstanding visual detail, experience detailed modeling of aircraft, interiors and exteriors, realistic textures, dynamic lighting, and immersive cockpit design. We have comprehensive documentation and training, so we've got detailed manuals, interactive training missions with those checklists that we talked about before to ensure a thorough understanding of the aircraft that is suitable for both newcomers and experienced aviators. I'm aware from information from Baltic Dragon that he is producing with probably others, there's some accurate training missions to get us up to speed with this aircraft. So it'll be pretty involved. Now, I was thinking about it. Sounds like they're going to do some more work here in terms of a third crew person. I'm not sure yet if, say, for example, you have a couple of people flying the aircraft. Is there the option for a loadmaster to be in the back while you're flying, so you could have up to 3, maybe 4 people? I don't know yet about that, but they do go on to say a little bit about that. So once it's already released in the game, they said they are going to include finalization of audio effects in the cargo bay area, damage modeling, levels of detail, integration of a third multi-crew slot, which I was hinting at there, and the completion of a vehicle airdrop system in partnership with Eagle Dynamics. We're also tuning the parachute deployment mechanics, including introducing extraction chutes for heavy equipment airdrops and physically simulated static lines. So some really cool stuff there going on. They said here what they've already done. They've been working on this obviously for several years. They've completed the core flight model, the engine, APU, electrical, hydraulic, and fuel systems, as well as the avionics systems. The cargo bay is fully walkable in VR and flat screen, which is really good news. And they've got rigged physics for CDS bundles and the GBU 43B Moab. And they've got network synchronized multi-crew is fully implemented for 2 players. As I said, third player potentially comes online at a later date. And that will be part of the focus for their MC-130J. This is a variant operated by AF-SOC, which brings aerial refueling capabilities, including player-to-player AAR in multiplayer, which is really cool. The MC variant also includes the ANAAS-52V EOIR pod and a third crew station, for their CSO or Combat Systems Officer. They wanted to thank Airplane Simulations Company, that is. They wanted to thank the SMEs, the test teams, Eagle Dynamics for their support, and every pilot eager to get their hands on the 4 fans of freedom turning. So that includes you, if you, of course, pre-order the aircraft. That supports the team's work. And I think it is a fantastic addition to the game. And it's going to be particularly useful, as I said, in certain maps, like South Atlantic, where it's got a little bit more legroom to fly around. And also maps like Afghanistan, Iraq, where you have hostile environments that you can sort of practice bringing the aircraft in, maybe to a hot airfield, or dropping off munitions, supplies, whatever else it is, to hot areas. So there's lots of variability, and this is a different kind of flying, certainly than we're perhaps used to in DCS, with regards to taking a large aircraft like this and using it as it was intended. That's going to bring some different challenges. Certainly getting to grips with the systems within the aircraft for programming pre-flight, a little bit different. So there's going to be plenty of work and hours of game time and getting to grips with this aircraft. We'll see how it goes. There's been some snippets already from Ralphie Dude, from what I have seen, doing some practice landing. So yeah, stay tuned for more information as it comes to hand. I'm very, very excited about this aircraft. Like I said, it does turn a corner a little bit for Eagle Dynamics. As I said, also, the game is evolving, but also flight simulation is evolving very, very rapidly. If you're wondering where the direction is going, do check out some of the posts from WinWing right now, where they are very much gearing up to reproduce the home cockpit experience. And I have just received from them, I haven't had a chance to pull it out of the box yet, the new PTO 2, I think it is, flight panel, and also an F-16 throttle, which coincides nicely with the arrival of the new sniper pod that ED announced is in game now a couple of weeks ago. Haven't had a chance to fully play with that yet. Looks absolutely fantastic and works well in VR too, which is good news. So as I said, WinWing is kind of showcasing where the direction of flight simulation is going here, and also VR, which is becoming more accessible, and there are more companies coming on board. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry right now, and I've been working closely with Pimax a little bit to help showcase what you need in terms of a good headset for flight simulation. There's plenty of headsets out there, but not all of them are created equal. So, but that's another discussion point for another time. So it's a busy pipeline in many respects, because we have the pre-order now for the C-130J. We have the pre-order for the MiG-29A. There was a very interesting video actually recently with Ward Carroll and Professor Justin Bronk, or Dr. Bronk, who had some seat time in a MiG-29A. So he had produced a really interesting assessment of the MiG-29A. Remember, he's flown other aircraft. I think he's been in the Eurofighter. I could be wrong there, but I know he spent some time with maybe the Gripen. It was an interesting analysis of the strengths and weaknesses of the MiG-29A, which I think is pertinent given that that is also in early access and set for release potentially this year. He said that just as we saw in the blurb previously, that the aircraft lacks really the sophistication in the RWR system and the countermeasure system that we see in Western aircraft. Doesn't have the same potency in terms of radar. He said it's an incredibly fast jet. It is very draggy though. It works pretty well in the low-speed environment as well. So it was an interesting assessment when in Afterburner to get it up and running, because it is a high draggy aircraft. He said it uses a lot of gas, which limits its range. So some really interesting, broad assessments of what that aircraft is capable of, pertinent to the discussion we had a few weeks ago about the MiG-29A and some of the other discussions going on about electronic suites in the aircraft in the game. There has been some assessment about the perhaps artificially accurate RWR systems and radar systems within the Blue 4 aircraft. and whether there is too much eye of God in those systems. But again, yeah, lots of things to talk about, and we're going to switch gears here a little bit. Let's talk about the Pacific Theater of Operations announcement from this week's newsletter.
70. 12 o'clock. 3:30 knots. 12 o'clock. Flash. 12 o'clock.
All right, welcome back. Let's talk about PTO, the Pacific Theater of Operations 1944 specifically here. And this is an asset pack that Eagle Dynamics has been touting for a while. We've seen snippets of it, but now they've gone on and given us a comprehensive list of things that we will see. Now, the team advised that they have wanted to provide an update on the extensive effort being devoted to bringing this scenario to life with the PTO Assets Pack. Learning from the European Theatre of War scenarios, the PTO scenario is focused on providing an extensive order of battle for both US and Imperial Japanese forces in the summer of 1944, and to offer an accurate representation of the battle for the Marianas Islands and the Battle of the Philippine Sea. Here we have a big announcement. New player aircraft coming for the scenario will include both the F6F Hellcat and the A6M5. So you heard it here, all right? If you haven't been aware of this, both the Hellcat and the Zero are coming. Now, the Hellcat we've definitely known about. This has been announced some time ago, and there was some hint that maybe it would come this year, but this is all speculative in terms of the ED's timelines. They weren't specific on that. That was a potential aim, but of course, dates are subject to change in this environment, as we know. What was not known was that they were looking at producing the Zero. Right now, it's a placeholder aircraft based on one of, is it the Dora or the FW-190 anyway, whatever variant it is they have there. So it's not an accurate representation of what we would expect to see. The Zero, remember, is a very light, very maneuverable craft, has almost no arm effectively compared to European and American aircraft of the period. So they suffered a little bit in terms of casualties. If you could get guns on that aircraft, there's a good chance that you would destroy it, certainly injure or kill the pilot. So while they were highly maneuverable, they were lighter, obviously, than their counterparts, but they definitely lacked that armor. So destruction was highly likely, and death was highly likely if you got in the crosshairs of enemy aircraft if you were a Japanese pilot. So anyway, moving on to the rest of the update, they go on to say that this is the list of assets they're going to include. Let's start with the United States aircraft again, AI assets here. So we will have an F6F Hellcat, naturally enough. There's also going to be the Helldiver, the Avenger, the Dauntless, the Catalina, which is exciting, the PBY Catalina, and also a P-38L Lightning. So lots of aircraft that people would love to see in the game as full fidelity. Unfortunately, not all of those ones are going to be full fidelity out of that list. The Hellcat is really what we're looking at. Moving on to the ships. So we have the Enterprise aircraft carrier, the Casablanca, the Independence. We have the New Orleans class heavy cruiser, the Baltimore class heavy cruiser, the Cleveland light cruiser, Fletcher class destroyer, Liberty class transport, and the Cimarron class oiler. I think I've pronounced that correctly. Notice no battleships per se. I know some people have asked about that, but at this point, no US battleships. Moving on to ground forces, though, we have the M4A2 Sherman, the M3A1 Stuart Light Tank, the LVT-4 Tracked Landing Vehicle, the LVT-A-4 Tracked Landing Vehicle, the DUK, DUKW-353 Amphibious Truck, U.S. Marine Corps Infantrymen, U.S. Navy Carrier Personnel, and U.S. Navy Seamen. Moving on to Imperial Japanese aircraft, again, the A6M5, naturally enough. They also have the Judy, the Val, and the Jill, which are, again, all going to be AI. Next, the Japanese ships. So we have the Shokaku aircraft carrier, the Chitose light aircraft carrier, the Kongo battleship, Mogami heavy cruiser, Agano light cruiser, Yugumo class destroyer, Kagero class destroyer, and the Kashino class transport. Big list of Japanese ground forces here. Type 94 tank hit and the Type 95 Hago tank, the Kurogani Type 95 car, the Type 97 Tiki tank, the 97 Chiha tank, the 97 Shinho To tank, the Type 2 KAM amphibious tank, the Type 1 47mm anti-tank gun, Type 98 20mm anti-aircraft gun, Type 91 10cm towed artillery, Type 92 70mm towed artillery, Type 10 120mm anti-aircraft gun, and lastly here the Imperial Japanese Army infantrymen and Japanese Navy seamen. So lots of assets there, obviously all very important for fleshing out this environment as they described. So right now it's a little bit of an open slate. We have the map, we have the islands, but we don't have that full-fledged list of assets that had been indicated previously. Magnitude 3s showcased some of their assets, but really we only have the Corsair as the primary instrument in that environment, and so it's lacking a little bit of vitality at this juncture. And certainly the Japanese Zero that we have in the game right now is simply a placeholder. It's one of the FW190s off the top of my head. So again, it lacks this richness, if you like, to bring the scenario to life. So this will be good news. When this comes out, we're not quite sure yet. All right, well, that pretty much brings us to the end of another DCS SITREP. I did have other topics that I wanted to talk about, specifically the sniper pod, but I think in the interest of brevity, we will curtail that for another time, and I think it needs a little bit more research anyway to get the best out of that. I haven't had a chance to use the sniper pod in anger. I got up and kind of played with it a little bit, so it isn't really a fair representation of what the product offers at this juncture. And again, I think it's a good one for the Viper, and I think Eagle Dynamics has done a lot of work on that, as you can tell from the videos that Wags produced a few weeks back. On a separate note, I am at something of a crossroads with regards to this channel. And there may be, and I'm kicking this around, there may be some rebranding that occurs. When that occurs, I'm not exactly sure. Part of the issue for me is that I am starting to get to the end of a very exciting career in one that brings me danger, excitement, and potential death, involving guns and firearms and stuff like that, which I have enjoyed for the last 15 years or so, but I'm close to retirement from that. One gets older, one gets slower, the job gets dangerous, and as you get older, you just don't have the reflexes, you don't have the fitness as you did, the strength, and as fit and strong as I still am for my age, I'm starting to slow down. And so I'm recognizing, I don't want to keep doing that anymore, and I'm interested in other things. So I had actually applied for another job recently that was still related to the field that I work in a very minor capacity, but it didn't involve having to be strapped all the time and on high alert. So that's what's going on there in my personal life, plus the home front, building things, jigging the house, and so on and so forth. And I've had a lot of people request that I branch out and cover other franchises within the flight simulation environment and combat simulation environment, which is growing. Because I think in part we have so much interest in flight simulation being fairly accurately represented in video games now that in the past were, not so well done because of the constraints of technology. That's starting to change and has changed. And so we're in a world now that is very, very realistic, and you can build a home cockpit thanks to companies like Wing and others that was only dreamable 10, 15 years ago. And with companies reaching out, wanting to have me review flight equipment, working with Wing, and I'm now, well entrenched, if you like, working with Pimax, which has been very enjoyable. VR is amazing. And as I've said in the past, I think it's one of the only ways really to enjoy flight simulation, particularly DCS World, the advantages that it gives you. It's not accessible to everyone at this point due to the price point. That may change. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry, as I said before. So I'm in a space where I feel like, again, there may be some rebranding, and it's just a matter of time as to, and money, I guess, too, is one of the other problems, as to what that looks like. It is a competitive environment producing YouTube videos. The top YouTube channel producers are spending thousands of dollars producing videos. And for most of us, that is also not accessible. But I do see an opportunity to maybe do some rebranding, because I think I've taken the DCS SITREP, given its niche, as far as I possibly can in the competitiveness that is this environment. And I don't want to be trapped just with one franchise necessarily. It's been incredible, the fun that I've had playing DCS World, and that will be the primary focus, but I see opportunity elsewhere as well. So we'll wrap it up there. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thanks for the likes, the subscribes, the support, the super thanks. Those have all been very, very helpful. And of course, all the comments and feedback that I get in the comment section below. So stay tuned for more information on DCS World and beyond in the very near future. This is Prickly Hedgehog out.